I can't get away from these damn seagulls. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Beer Chasers. I'm Preston, and today we're going to be doing some homebrewing. So in the last homebrewing segment you saw, we did a s'more stout. Kind of ambitious, used some unconventional ingredients. Didn't really come out the way we were hoping. So this time I wanted to go a little easier, but I still wanted to challenge myself. So I decided to try a peanut butter chocolate stout. So I've refined the stout recipe a little bit. So today we're going to go over that recipe. We're going to show you the homebrewing segment. So stick around, check it out. Alright, so it's time to go over the ingredients and the recipe for the peanut butter chocolate stout. So we'll start with my base malt. I went with 12 pounds of Maris Otter. So Maris Otter should give it like a richer and maltier flavor compared to some of the other two rows that I could have used. So I decided, you know, being a peanut butter chocolate beer, that's why I went with Maris Otter. I'll go into the specialty grains now. I have 1.5 pounds of Crystal 60. So that's just going to give it a little more of that kind of caramel sweetness, a little more of that sweet backbone and flavor to the beer. I went with 1 pound of Victory malt. Victory's going to give it kind of a nutty kind of flavor, and I figured with it being like a peanut butter beer, I went ahead and added this just to kind of give it a little more kind of character in the malt stance. I'm going to move on to some of the dark and roasted malts. I use 1.5 pounds of Carafa Special 2. Now, Carafa Special 2 is a dehusked version of the Carafa malts, which means basically it's going to have less of that roasty, astringency flavor that you would normally get from a roasted malt, but you're still going to get a little bit of the color and just a little bit of that kind of flavor. Went with 4 ounces of British chocolate malt. This is just a standard chocolate malt that's used in a lot of stout recipes. And I also went with 4 ounces of chocolate wheat. From everything I'd read, chocolate wheat and the British chocolate malt both kind of have a different chocolate flavor to them. So I figured I'd use a little bit of both, and that way kind of cover all the spectrums of chocolate. I also used 1 pound of flaked wheat. So last time I used 1 pound of roasted barley, or flake barley, sorry. This time I went with flaked wheat just because I want something to kind of help with the head retention. And I'd already had some roasted stuff in there with the Carafa and the 2 chocolate malts, so I figured I didn't want to go overkill and add any more of that. So I went with the flaked wheat this time around. And I went ahead and used 8 ounces of rice hulls. Mainly just out of security. I didn't want to get a stuck mash, and I figured at 8 ounces it's not really going to affect anything. So I wasn't using like 30 pounds of grains or anything, so I had room for some rice hulls. Figured, hey, they're $1, throw them in there, why not? So that's pretty much going to wrap up the malts. Pretty simple, a little more simple than the last time. I think last time we had some biscuit malt and some other stuff in there, so simpled it up a little bit, trying to you know, stick more with just kind of easy going, straightforward. We'll see what happens. So for the hops, I'm going to go ahead and use 2 ounces of Magnum at 12%. So these are really high hopped alpha acid hops, really good for bittering. I'm going to put those at 60 minutes, you know, the whole 60 minutes of the boil. That'll be my bittering hop. I used 1 ounce of East Kent Goldings, that's 5%. I'm going to add that at 15 minutes. I used 1 ounce of Northern Brewer, 8.5% at 5 minutes, just kind of for that aroma. And some other ingredients we're going to use today. So I'm going to use 1 pound of milk sugar, being that it is a milk chocolate stout. We're going to use some of that milk sugar to kind of retain some of that nice creamy sweetness that you'd expect. I'm also going to use 4 ounces of cocoa nibs. Those are going to go in secondary, so that's going to help bring that chocolate flavor up to the forefront. So for the peanut butter, I'm sure this is what a lot of people are curious about. I'm going with a product called PB2. So PB2 is a powdered peanut butter. I've done a lot of research on this, and there's a brewery here actually in the area that I've kind of consulted with one of their head brewers. He talked about when they do a peanut butter beer, they also use a peanut butter, you know, kind of extract like this PB2. So basically, it's a powdered peanut butter. You can find it at most grocery stores. And the cool thing about this is that it's pretty much already defatted. So a lot of the problems when you try to add peanut butter to a beer is that the nuts have oil in them, and oil kills head retention in your beer. So there's all these techniques to soak the peanut butter on, you know, paper bags for, you know, weeks at a time, and just trying to defat and get all the oils out of them. Well, with the PB2, you can pretty much add it right to your boil, or right in the secondary, right in the primary, however you want to try to use it. So it was pretty cool. I went ahead and went with that, and we'll see how that works out for us. And let's see, we have, for the yeast, we're going to use Y Yeast 1098. It's the British ale. I'm using 2 packets of that. I'm also going to create a yeast starter using those. Let's see, I think that's pretty much everything here. Some extra nerdy stuff for you. The estimated original gravity comes in at 1.089, so if everything finishes off like it should, down to about 1.011, that should get us about 8% beer. So I think it's, you know, somewhere in the realm of where in between a sweet stout and an imperial. I think it's heavier for a sweet stout if you looked at the BJCP classification, but you know, I've had sweet stouts that are higher than that, you know, and I don't think anybody's really giving them crap for it just because they're not in style. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the brew. Here it goes. Alright, so with the brew footage complete, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Beer Chasers. Be sure to check us out next time where we're going to be cracking open the Peanut Butter Chocolate Stout, giving it a taste, and let you know what we think. So until then, I'm Preston, this is the Beer Chasers, we'll see you later.
Beer is done!